Alright, welcome back to BrainFLoTv again, everybody. Just go ahead and hit that subscribe button, please, and let's get right into the topic. So, 2 new updates concerning the YNW Melly trial. For those of you who want to stay close to this trial and want to hear it broken down my way, then go ahead and hit that bell next to the subscribe button so you are notified every time a new update is uploaded. Let's start out with number 1. The number 1 is YNW Melly's attorneys have been requesting for the redeposition of the lead detective, Mark Moretti, in this case. The redeposition would mean that he was already depositioned and now he is going to be redepositioned. In other words, he was already on the stand, under oath, questioned, cross-examined by YNW Melly's attorneys. Well, they filed a motion to have him put back on the stand again. Let's not forget, YNW Melly's attorneys are convinced that Mark Moretti is guilty of something that botched this case. And if they can catch him and prove to a jury, this case hangs in the balance on Mark Moretti's credibility because he is the lead detective in this case. Now, they won that motion because the judge has granted them that motion. Basically, they took the lead detective, they put him on the stand before, they asked him a whole bunch of questions, especially when he was accused of collecting evidence outside of his jurisdiction, when he was accused of using force to remove a cell phone from the hand of YNW Melly's mother, when he was accused of telling another detective that he needed him to lie for him to say that he was in the room when he served whatever he served. I forgot what the name of the word is. You know what I'm talking about. Anyways, they said he lied. Okay, he was supposed to have someone there and the person wasn't there when he served a warrant. The word I'm looking for is warrant. So he basically asked somebody, another detective, after he had already served the warrant, saying, yo, I'm going to need you to say that you were in here when it was served. Because the law says another detective had to be there, and he served it without. Allegedly. They already took all that to court. It was already hashed out in front of the judge. They said it was a joke. You know, they made a joke about it. But they also said that YNW Melly's mom, her attorney, was also present when that joke was made and when the whole situation happened. So if there was anything inappropriate done, it would have been brought to light by that attorney who knows the law. They're an attorney. To this day, I have not seen that attorney take the stand to say, I was not there, or I was there and something inappropriate did happen, right? Now, I'm thinking someone told that attorney not to say anything. Reason being, if that attorney speaks up, that attorney can only tell the truth. Because if that attorney lies, gets in court, gets on the stand, lie under oath, up, there goes your law license. Up, there goes your whole career, right? And perjury and everything else. This is a double murder trial. But if that attorney gets up there, period, that attorney will have to speak the truth. And the truth is going to be, I was present with my client, Jamie King, when Officer Moretti or Detective Moretti served as warrant, confiscated her phone, and I saw no foul play in action. Boom. The judge has awarded them the right to put Mark Moretti back on the stand, back under deposition again, which means they will cross-examine him again. However, fine print in the contract, the judge said, you can question him again, but you can only question him about credibility, his credibility. You cannot question him about evidence. Right. So you can't go up there and question him about evidence, only credibility, which I think is a leeway for Mark Moretti to get on the stand and not say too much. And I think it also ties the hands of YNW Melly's attorneys, because they will only be limited in how much and what they can actually question him about on the stand. Leave in the comment section what you think is going to happen when Mark Moretti takes the stand again. What will be the intention of YNW Melly's attorneys, having him redepositioned back on the stand under oath, questioning him again with this line of questioning? Moving on to number 2. We're going to keep it short, right? Okay. Number 2, the next change is officially, this news came 2 days ago. However, I had to wait to see if it was actually true. So far, sources have confirmed that YNW Melly's retrial will begin opening arguments on January 8th. People, opening arguments is not jury selection. In order for opening arguments to happen, a jury must be seated. A jury must have been selected. This part of the trial must have been done away with, moving into the next phase, which is starting the trial officially. So the official start date for YNW Melly's trial, where the opening arguments will begin, has now been listed as January 8th of 2024. Now, Wednesday, November 8th, this is another development. Jury selection panel was stricken from retrial upon YNW Melly's attorney's request. And John J. Murphy, which is the presiding judge, actually granted them this motion. So here it goes. They requested for the jury, that jury panel in particular, to be stricken in order, in other words, for them to be removed completely from anything that has anything to do with this trial. Now, the crazy thing is about how this happened. See, jurors are instructed, right? They are at the phase now where the prosecution and the defense, meaning the state and YNW Melly's attorneys, they will take turns instructing a panel of jury or potential jurors what they need to do. It is reported that YNW Melly's attorney got up and twice made an error when instructing the juror panel by trying to convince them that they must either find him guilty on everything or find him guilty on nothing at all. And when they said everything, they actually included that they, the jury, must also find him guilty of being a member of the Bloods gang. So the state jumped in, and the state said, whoa, objection. You guys, these guys, Your Honor, YNW Melly's attorneys, they're telling the jury the wrong thing. This is not what the law says. The law does not require us to find him guilty of being, or to prove that he is a blood member or a gang member in order to find him guilty of this double murder, which is correct. So the judge called them up to his desk in court, and the judge asked them, rephrase that to the jury. YNW Melly's attorneys, I think personally they knew what they were doing. So YNW Melly's attorneys went back again after the judge said to rephrase it, and they went back and they said the same thing again, instructing the jury panel that was present to make sure that they know this, that they must find him guilty on everything or they must let him go. On everything to include, and they did it again, everything to include proving that he is a member of the Bloods gang. And again, the state objects. The state goes, listen, stop doing this, okay? Nothing says that we have to find him guilty of being in a gang or prove that he is a gang member in order for us to find him guilty or not guilty of murder. It's two separate things. The gang affiliation is simply just an add-on. It is simply just another piece of aggravating factor. It is not the soul of the case. We do not have to find him guilty of being in a gang or prove that he was in a gang in order for us to prove that he committed these murders. Okay. Upon that being said, YNW Melly's lawyers then said to the judge something like, the state is trying to make us lose credibility with the jury, because now they're jumping up and telling us that we cannot say what we just said. So this panel of jury, they're going to look at us like, oh, we don't know what we're doing. And since they're going to look at us like we don't know what we're doing, our credibility with them is going to be damaged throughout this entire trial, Your Honor. So no matter what we present in front of them, they're never going to believe us from this point forward. Now, I find this really funny because they are the ones that got up and said the wrong thing. And then they got up and said the wrong thing twice, even after being instructed by the judge to rephrase that, say it another way. The judge probably couldn't even believe what he was hearing. Why are you instructing the jury, or the jury panel rather, to make sure that in order for you to find him guilty of murder, you must also prove that he is a gang member? It makes no sense. Even one of the jurors or potential jurors that were seated raised their hands and asked the question. And the question the juror asked was this: so, what you're telling us is that we must find him guilty of being in a gang and find him guilty of being for murder? Like, we must find him guilty of being in a gang in order to find him guilty of this murder? Makes no sense. Right. So YNW Melly's attorneys go, hey, these jurors, they're going to look at us from this point on like we don't know what we're doing, and rightfully so. And with that, they requested from John J. Murphy, the oversighting judge, to strike this whole panel of people from the jury, from the trial, period. Now, what has happened is that entire panel has been stricken from the trial. What does this mean? Because news is out that everybody who was involved in jury selection has been sent home. And now they're going to have to start jury selection all over again. That is not true. What actually is going to happen is that particular panel of potential jurors was stricken from the process altogether. They'll go home. They will have nothing to do with this trial. Right. None of the selected jurors or participants were removed. The defense will continue the selection process with the next panel. See, they're broken down into panels. This particular panel heard the mistake made twice by YNW Melly's attorneys, and then they decided send those people home because their credibility or our credibility with them is shot. Let's move on to another panel of people. And hopefully when they get to the next panel, they won't go over there and say the same thing that they said to the other panel before they asked. So it's funny that they made a mistake twice. After the second, listen, there wasn't a mistake. These guys are highly trained. They know what they're doing. I'm thinking to myself, maybe YNW Melly's attorneys saw somebody, one of those potential jurors they didn't like they weren't meshing well with them. They were giving them an attitude as if, because you can tell body language, believe it or not. And these people have this is their career, and they're seasoned attorneys. So they've studied all the psychological things. They've studied how we communicate, with 90% of our communication coming from body language instead of from words. So they are studying these potential jurors. They can already tell who is neutral, who is in their favor, and who is against them. If you get a panel of jurors who's giving you the vibes, like there are 12 of them seated up there, and at least 7 of them, 8 of them seem like they have a certain kind of disdain for your team, for YNW Melly, for his defense. You better create a way to get rid of that panel of jurors, because that's not the panel of jurors you want to sit at the trial after they've been showing you all along that, hey, we don't like you. They're cold towards you. Their faces frown up and look different when you start speaking. It shows, right? I can't believe that YNW Melly's attorney, as highly skilled as they are, would get up and say that wrong thing twice. First time they said it, rejected by the state, objected by the state. Second time they said it, after the judge instructed them to rephrase it, say it again, they still said the same thing wrong again. And then asked the judge to remove them from the trial, strike this panel. And the judge gave it to them. He struck the panel. The judge didn't say, hey, you guys were the ones that made a mistake. Come on, man, you got to be in here and be sharp, be on your P's and Q's. For some reason, the judge gave it to them. Only reason I'm thinking Judge Murphy gave this to them is because Judge Murphy is thinking way ahead. He is like, I don't want another mistrial. I want this to be done and over with. I don't want any mistakes made in this. Even if there is a small slither of a potential for anybody to be able to say, well, you could have struck the jury panel before, he is leaving all I's dotted, all T's crossed, and he's probably thinking farther ahead as far as down the road of appeal. Right. So he's being thorough. That's the only reason I could think that he's given that to the YNW Melly team. But end of the day, those are the two changes. The lead detective, Mark Moretti, will be back on the stand, and the panel of jurors were stricken, but not the entire jury pool or potential jury pool. So they will continue selecting jurors from the other panels that are left. So they won't be starting over the entire jury selection process. YNW Melly's mother is no longer going to be coming to the courthouse, which I think is a win for the prosecution, because Bukalu had filed a motion to have her completely removed from the jury selection process. The judge denied the prosecution that motion and stated that YNW Melly's mother had a right to be there at the courthouse. However, YNW Melly's mother released a video saying she will no longer be going there for jury selection, even though that's the only time that she could see her son, because he has no visitation rights and his phone privileges have been taken away. And the last time she saw him or spoke to him in person was before Thanksgiving of last year. So it's been a while. And it hurts that she's not going to be able to see him. However, she will wait until trial because she doesn't want the accusations that were made against her held against her son when it comes time for his trial. So, although the judge did not give this motion to the prosecution, the request for Melly's mom to no longer be at the courthouse, Melly's mom gave it to them herself. Listen, don't worry about the judge not giving it to you. I think you guys are corrupted anyways, and I don't want you to start making up extra shit against me, so I'm going to give that to you. I'm not even coming there anymore, so you have nothing to worry about. And again, the trial start date where opening arguments will begin is set for January 8th of 2024. Leave your comments in the comments section below. Tell me what you think about this one, and I will continue to bring you these videos broken down and explained so everybody can understand and is on the same page. I'll catch you on the next video. It's BrainFLoTv. I'm out. Peace.